This video is brought to you by War Thunder. We all know Hitman is a game about killing your target as stealthily as possible. So today, I'm taking that concept to the limit on Hitman's DLC maps. I'm gonna try to beat these levels like I'm actually getting away with murder. Every kill needs to look like a real accident, and I'm not talking about shooting a chandelier. I can't leave any evidence behind. No shell casings from bullets, no suspicious wounds on my targets, and of course, no witnesses. How is it possible? Join me to find out. Our first mission of today takes us to Ambrose Island, where I have two targets, Null, Crest, and Akka. But I have one additional objective, which is to deny access to a surveillance satellite. For this mission, I packed an emetic grenade, a lockpick, a sick dart, and a smuggled durian, which I'll explain shortly. Let's start with the target I thought would be the hardest, so that would be Null Crest. He wanders the town area of the level and doesn't really do much else. He always has a couple guards with him too, so isolating him could be a pretty big problem. At first, I wasn't too sure how I wanted to deal with him. All the accident kill opportunities are really suspicious. For example, there's like some water and a little lamp that I can knock down to create an electric pool, but the only way I can get the lamp down is by shooting it, and if I were to shoot it, that would leave a bullet impact, so that won't work. I could blow him up while he walks by using a micro taser, but that's also really suspicious. I want to be as traceless as possible here, so none of that would do. I followed him around for a long time and found he does have one weak spot, which is when he uses his binoculars on the dock. Unfortunately though, none of the items I had in my inventory would actually allow for an accident kill here, so I needed to go get something from across the map. Usually I try to avoid stealing items for this challenge because, you know, that's kind of like evidence if anyone notices it's gone, but I promise no one's gonna notice this disappear. The thing we're after is across the map by our other target, inside of the pirate base. Here, sneaking around is actually pretty easy. By following the grass, I can get to the back of the base undetected, and after waiting out a couple of guard timings, I can get to the other side. From here, there's some ruins that I want to enter where there's a guard at a tower. I could sneak up to the guard tower and snatch his snack for the day, a nice yellow banana, which we need for Null. Once Null finally comes back around to his binocular spot again, I toss my durian at both him and his guards while their backs are turned, causing all three of them to get sick without anyone noticing I tossed it. Since durians grow naturally on this map, I hardly think a couple little scraps of it on the ground count as evidence. And since nobody saw me throw it, I think I'm in the clear. Once Null and all of his guards are sick, they all split up to search for clues, and of course by clues I mean toilets. Null heads to the very end of the dock to puke all by himself, where a shiny banana peel has been sitting from when I placed it there a few minutes ago, looking like just another piece of trash from a littering dock worker. Null slips on the peel, kicking both it and him straight into the ocean, giving me a kill that could not possibly be traced back to me. Even if they find the banana peel, I'm wearing gloves. There won't be a single fingerprint. Now for Akka. She was actually way easier than I imagined. Being the leader of a pirate crew, you'd expect her to put up more of a fight. After following her around, it seemed like I was right and she would be a difficult target until she got to a certain point in her route. So here's how it went. I followed the same route I took to get to the banana, except instead of going through the base, I climb up a light tower with one guard at the top. Once I'm almost at the top floor, I toss an apple I took from a bar to distract a guard below. Akka is taking a smoke break directly under a bag of bricks, and I could just kick it on top of her for an easy kill. Now, you might be worried about a footprint on the bricks, but if you look carefully, 47 uses the toe of his shoe to kick the bricks, meaning that won't be a problem. That, combined with the fact that this was done right next to a guard who didn't see a thing, and I don't see how something like this gets traced back to 47. I mean, seriously, this guard is standing like 3 feet away. If anything, he's the one who's gonna get blamed for this. With that, the only remaining issue was the surveillance satellite. There are a few ways I could destroy this thing, but they all leave some form of evidence. I could physically destroy it, which obviously leaves evidence. I could disable the security system and overload the system, which also leaves evidence. I could use an EMP, which leaves evidence in the form of the physical EMP, or I could steal 2 keycards to remotely destroy it. So I think you can guess which one I went with. The first card is actually on the body of Akka, so so I snagged that on my way out, and the other is on a specific guard who resides in some ruins on the outside of the map. Getting it was actually pretty simple. Sneaking in there was a breeze, and by tossing an emetic grenade at him, which does not leave any debris behind, I check, he gets sick and goes to throw up. When he does, I grab him by the shirt and toss him over the ledge, causing him to hit his head and drop the second keycard. It kinda looks like he saw me here, but since I didn't lose Silent Assassin, I know he didn't see me, and even if he did, food poisoning and a severe concussion probably made him forget. In hindsight, if I actually wanted to make this even sneakier, I probably could have made him slip on a banana peel instead, but I think this is pretty good. With that, the level was complete and I was on to the second hardest level in New York. But before that, a quick word from today's sponsor, War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made, and is now available for free on PC, consoles, and mobile devices. You can command over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships. One of my favorite features is how immersive it is. With intense combat, incredibly detailed vehicles, realistic graphics, and authentic sound design, you really feel like you're at the helm of the most powerful war machines of our time. Plus, you can fit all that tech in your pocket because there's a new mobile version for the game on iOS and Android. So what are you waiting for? Join a global community of over 95 million players today. Plus, there's a massive bonus pack available for new and returning players that haven't played for at least 6 months on PC and consoles. You can get the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days premium account for a limited time only. So download War Thunder, available for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile, using the link in the pinned comment or video description. Now, back to the video. New York was a tough one. I have one target, a woman named Athena Savalis, who resides on the top floor of the bank. And on top of that, I must obtain a data drive hidden inside a huge vault. With me, I packed an emetic dart gun, a banana, and a durian. So once again, a very limiting layout with both items being a one-time use. I started by booking it to a corner of the bank that has a screwdriver, which I'll need for the kill. Since this is like a random, seemingly lost screwdriver, I think taking it is perfectly fair game. I'm actually not too worried about the kill for this mission. I'm much more worried about the data drive I needed to obtain. There are 2 ways to get this drive, which are either by stealing it from the vault, which requires robbing a bank, typically not very evidence-free, and the second is by stealing 3 discs held by 3 different NPCs. One is my target Athena, and the other 2 are held by high-ranking bank employees, putting a pretty big problem in front of me. The only way to get NPCs to drop their items is by either knocking them out or killing them. When I kill my target, I'll get hers, so that's not an issue. However, since my banana is single use, I can only knock out one of the other 2 holders without leaving evidence behind. There's also no bananas on this map, so I can't get a second one like that either. I really thought there'd be some type of environmental factor I could use to dispose of them, but after watching them roam around the map, I was worried I had run into a wall. However, I realized there's an extremely niche way to get one of these discs, but I needed to do a few things first. First, I needed to sneak to the top of the bank where my target resides. Getting here is pretty simple. I just needed to wait for a few people to turn around, and it was a breeze. I even destroyed the camera evidence and snagged a keycard on my way up while 2 guards are in the office. Technically, I didn't need to do that, but it made things more convenient, and it's evidence-free. Once in the office, I actually used my durian on a guard rather than a target, causing him to get sick and leave his post. This gives me time to both use my target's laptop to reschedule a meeting and loosen a piece of glass on this clock using the screwdriver from earlier. With that done, I just sit in the office and wait. After a few minutes, my target will notice the change in schedule and summon the bank executives to a private meeting in her office. Once they all arrive, I sneak in behind them to listen in. As I do, we learn the bank has some juicy drama going on involving fraud or something. It's bank stuff, I didn't really pay close attention, but importantly, it causes one of the executives to quit and leave his data disk on the table. After he stormed out, he must have been eating a banana or something, because there happened to be a peel on the ground right where the second executive goes to drink his coffee, causing him to slip and drop the second disk on the ground. What a clumsy guy. With those 2 drives on the ground, my target falls right through the glass, and apparently throws all her personal belongings on the ground before doing so, because rather than being on her body, you know, where you would expect, they are actually actually where she was leaning, right between two guards who never move again for the rest of time. I was very upset by this, because I really didn't want to leave more evidence. The least suspicious thing I could do was trip the fire alarm, causing them to panic and leave the disc unguarded, giving me the opportunity to snatch it and make a run for it. Was it a little suspicious that all 3 discs went missing simultaneously? Yes, but I mean, the mission is either that or rob the bank and take a different physical item, so this is the closest possible outcome. Also, I looked for additional kills instead of the screwdriver one, but I figured tampering with something like that while there's a guard in the office means he's more likely to get blamed than me, so I think that's our best bet for this mission. With that, I completed the mission and move on to the final and easily most frustrating mission, Haven Island. For those of you who don't know, Haven Island has a fun little mechanic in that every guard on the map has twice the sightline range of normal guards. This means anything I do can be seen from twice as far away, which is incredibly annoying because this map is super open. I spawned in my own hut, once again with a durian, banana, sick dart, and a lockpick. If you've noticed that I haven't been using the sick darts very much this time around, it's because there's been nowhere to hide the bodies. Usually these missions will have like an ocean or something or deep water I can dump people in, but so far there's been nowhere that I've found that can actually dispose of these bodies, apart from Null. So, I don't know, if in case you were wondering, now you know. I had 3 targets, Tyson Williams, Stephen Bradley, and Ludmila Veltrova. I was extremely worried about 2 of the targets, so I started with the easiest of the bunch, Stephen. Stephen is a gym rat who, as you might guess, mostly spends his time in the gym area with guards in tow. However, there's one point where he goes for a run on a distant island. However, getting there is extremely difficult to navigate on account of all the cameras. So, by using my lockpick, I can sneak into the camera room and destroy any camera evidence. Now, does this seem a little suspicious that the camera evidence is destroyed? Yes, but it worked for the Epstein case, so I'm allowing it. With the cameras destroyed, I can get into the island without any trouble. And while Stephen goes for a jog without his guards, I place a banana peel in his path, causing him to slip and fall on the beach, where I drag him a very short distance to some water, causing him to drown. The end result is a scene that looks like Stephen simply slipped on a banana peel, hit his head, and tragically drowned in the shallow water. That was the easy kill. The next kill on Tyson Williams was a lot more trouble. This guy's very sickly and only resides in the top of his very heavily staffed mansion. From what I could tell, anything that you can do to get him to leave involves leaving behind some physical evidence, so I had to somehow find a way to get rid of him despite him never leaving the uppermost floors and always having a guard with him. Even getting inside this house was a humongous pain. There are cleaners and guards around almost every corner of the mansion, and yet somehow there was a very tight path I could take up the main stairs straight into his room that let me get there unseen. After tracking his entire cycle, it was clear there was no opportunity to kill this man using the environment that wouldn't leave evidence. No chandeliers I could drop with a wench, no faulty wire traps to be made, nothing. So instead, I used my very precious durian. I toss it and cause both Tyson and his guard to get sick, but very importantly, the game registers his guard getting sick a little bit before him, causing the guard to use the closest toilet right next to an employee, and Tyson to go all the way down to throw up in a trash bin outside. Throwing the durian to cause this, by the way, is super finicky and took a lot of retries. Unfortunately, this does not get me an easy kill, but at least I could potentially lure him out from here, right? Wrong. Tyson walks so far from the upstairs area that his guard finishes puking and fully rejoins him before Tyson is done throwing up, meaning I can't lure him. Is that it? Is the run dead? No, because Haven Island is the only map in Hitman that has 3 bananas already on the map. By placing a banana peel on the stairs where the guard will walk, I can make him slip and fall while heading to Tyson. This gives me just enough time to lure Tyson with a coconut, since it won't seem suspicious as there's a ton of these on the map, causing him to walk into the nearby beach and right onto another banana peel, where I can drag him to the nearby water, thus creating the exact same accident scenario that killed Stephen. Now, you might be worried about the footprints in the sand or the trail the body would leave, but after you kill the second target in this map, a storm takes place, which reasonably would cause either the tide to increase or wind to blow away stuff like evidence. So while it's not a perfect murder, this is definitely the closest we can get. Oh, side note by the way, one of the bananas is stupidly difficult to get. I had to wait for an employee to open a door before sneaking into a secret underground laboratory, running to the lowest floor, tripping the fire alarm to get a guard to move, and then picking the lock of a locker that contained this one piece of fruit. The banana is actually supposed to be a gag from the player opening the wrong locker. There's a really valuable story item in the locker to the right, so the player has to guess. I'm getting sidetracked. Back to the final target, Veltrova. I was hoping that the DLC maps would finally give me a slightly easier target, but of course, that wasn't going to happen. Veltrova wanders around the outside area of the map, meeting with various people throughout the mission, and due to that doubled line of sight, is always in line of sight of multiple guards who just sort of stand around. I followed her entire cycle twice, but there was no opportunity to separate her from her guard, without leaving evidence, of course. I tried a lot of things. I can't use emetic darts since this map has nowhere to hide bodies. Bins don't count since the smell of rot would quickly attract attention. I can't save bananas or durians from previous targets, and from what I could tell, there aren't any other natural looking deaths I could cause that wouldn't be seen as a murder. So, having no choice left, I had to simply get her to slip on a piece of trash by the pool, hitting her head and drowning within 1 second of her lips touching an ounce of water. Unfortunately, as she falls, her guards see her unconscious for a second, which means I lose Silent Assassin, but I think it's fair to say this looks like a pretty convincing accident. I tried tossing fruit to get everyone to turn around right as she falls, but unfortunately, due to the doubled sight lines, the guards at the gym will see her fall, and there's nothing I could do. However, just to make it a little more convincing, I did toss fruit to make people turn away before I placed the banana peel, just to be extra thorough, even though I don't think anyone even noticed if I did it right in front of them. But with that, all 3 targets are dead, and I can finish the level having completed all of the DLC maps like I was actually getting away with murder, and maybe still getting arrested anyways. Thank you for watching. Remember to download War Thunder using my link in the description to claim the exclusive Vehicle Decorator, Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days premium account for a limited time only. Subscribe for more stuff like this in the future.